If you are a guy, would you rather have a career wife or a stay-at-home woman? And then let me qualify the statement. Considering the fact that money is not an issue, like you have enough resources, you have a good house, you can afford to drive whatever you want, eat whatever you want. Would you prefer to have a career woman or a stay-at-home wife? Any take? Career wife. Okay. Any other person who has a contrary sentiment or opinion? Huh? Okay. Your name, please. Jomo says stay-at-home wife. Okay.
I don't think it is the position of the husband to dictate whether or not the wife should work.
No. We are okay. I'm not saying. I'm saying it is just a very hypothetical.
Yes, it's hypothetical. Why I'm saying that is because we might want a stay-at-home career wife. But again, it depends. It's largely dependent. I think I'd go with what she wants at the moment. If she wants to work, let her work. If she wants to stay at home, let her stay. Because if she stays at home, the time the meza kusumbua sababu kazi yafanya.
Oh, okay.
Alternatively, working might be stressful and she just wants to take care of.
Oh, it's true. I hear you. I'm asking that question because there's a difference between a job and work. Because a maid has a job of housekeeping, but a housewife or rather a stay-at-home mom has the work of housekeeping. So in really sense, when someone stays at home, when your wife or your spouse stays at home, for example, if my wife stays at home, it doesn't really mean that she's not working. What she's lacking is she doesn't have a job, because a job is something that you have a designated assignment, given a job description, and then you are given a certain specified rewards. But work, you can volunteer. For example, a retired doctor can say, okay, let me go to this community dispensary and volunteer my service. So you see where I'm coming from. But I also agree with you that it shouldn't be more of you pushing the idea to her, but rather for her to be able to decide. I'm saying that also because it's also when you, depending on how you approach that, it also communicates your values and what you really consider to be a family and your role as a husband. And there are people even in this day and age, like there's this lady who graduated her first degree and then went ahead and did her master's. And she confided to her mentor and said, you know what? The only thing I just want to do is to get married and have children. But now, because of the investment that her parents had put in her, she couldn't do that. So anyway, that is just to be able to kind of like an icebreaker as we talk about today. Today we want to talk about love and submission. Love and? We want to talk about love and submission. So we have more questions for you. Maybe we'll discuss later. Love and submission. When we hear the term submission in our day and age, it is a very politically incorrect subject. Why? Because in our modern society, contemporary society, we are challenged to be able to be people who do not give in or give up. We are supposed to go for it, to be able to push the envelope, to be able to affront frontiers, to be able to push boundaries, to be able to go beyond borders. That's how we raise our children. That's how we live our lives in this modern age. And therefore, if you talk about submission, it becomes kind of something that is not palatable. And also because of the fact that submission has been used to mean being subjugated or being made to be a slave. So when you hear submission, it repulses us, especially for you girls, and even for us men who have daughters. When you hear submission, the first thing that comes to our mind is you want to make my daughter a slave, or you want to make my sister a slave. So submission has that element. So it has an element of defeat. It has an element of weakness. It has an element of inferiority. Yet, I'd like us to have a discussion about that and ask ourselves, what exactly is submission? And especially in the context of relationship and subsequently marriage. Do we still have a place for submission in this day and age? That's a question I'd like us to be able to kind of just interrogate right now. In the next few minutes. For our building to stand and be durable and serve its purpose, you need to be able to have a blueprint for it, and also involved experts, people like good architects, engineer, and electrician, for it to be able to really stand and be durable. And also for marriage and family to be able to, for it to be considered to be healthy, you also need to be able to consider certain fundamentals and qualities. And that's the conversation we've been having. From the time we talked about singlehood and we're talking about dating and breakup, all this my objective is for us to be able to formulate healthy relationship and a marriage. So it takes a lot of effort and input for us to be able to achieve that. Some of the things that if you ask yourself, what makes a healthy relationship or marriage? Some of the things are, like, for example, the element of you living. The good book, the Bible says, a man shall leave his father and mother and then be cleaved to his wife. And nowadays also, I would challenge you guys, men, don't get a wife from their house, from their home. Get a wife who has stayed on their own. But don't tell them I told you that. There's something about living. Don't get a wife who still stays with their parents. Unasikia? No, but it's not a fundamental. Under normal circumstances, I would prefer that I would advise you to get someone who also has stayed on their own, because there's something about living that makes you work on your singlehood and your identity to the extent that you are able to really join and cleave with your spouse. So there's that element of living, and then there's an element of intimacy. Intimacy is more or less the psychological, emotional, social, physical, and sexual and spiritual closeness between a man and a woman at a relationship level and marriage level. And then we have the things like companionship. Companionship is the element of having someone who keeps you company, who shares their life with you in all aspects and all seasons. And then there's also the element of unity. You come into the relationship space and marriage space with diverse aspects about you, your personality, your values, your ideals, your principles, your giftings, and then you come together and unite. And then, of course, things like communication, being able to relay the right information, relay your information in a way that is understandable, and also being able to understand whatever the other person is communicating, either verbally or non-verbally, objectively. And then there's also the issue of trust, the quality of being reliable and dependable. And then I'm just rushing through them. And then partnership. Remember we talked about the different kinds of relationships? We talked about simultaneous, and then sequential, and then serial, all those. And then we talked about situationships. And then we said situationships are majorly transactional in nature. Yet, even marriage, do you know even marriage is transactional in nature? Has an element of transaction in it. Because when you come together as a boyfriend, girlfriend, fiancé, and eventually husband and wife, there's an element of emotion and love and other things, but also there's an element of a transaction where you're coming as partners to partner in being able to realize certain goals in your life. The goals of nurturing this marriage, the goal of parenting, the goal of investing together, and many other things so you come together as a partner. So your wife or your husband is a partner. Of course, should not be the number one, but that is part and parcel of what entails a marriage. And now, there is where now the issue of love and submission comes in. Like, partnership is the coming together of two parties for a certain common goal. So when you talk about love and submission, it's a touchy subject, but it speaks more about the roles and the values that we hold in life. When I talk about submission, I mean, the Bible says this: wives, submit to your husbands as Christ submits to the church. But also it says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church. In other words, God, in his nature, has created marriage and realized that this partnership calls for us to be able to have, among many other components, submission and love. But let me ask, maybe just a rhetorical question. Why is it that husbands were not told submit, and then wives instead the wives were the ones told to submit? Maybe it should have been the other way around. Oh.
I agree.
Yeah. Why can't we have it the other way around? Like, why can't you submit? And why can't she love you? Huh? She's a human being. She has the capacity to love. You are a human being. You have the capacity to submit. If you can submit to your boss. You don't have the capacity? Hey, we are Meruka, man. It is so because the issue of submission for ladies and the issue of love for men is not about competition, or is not about superiority or inferiority. It's about the inherent nature of a woman and the inherent nature of a man. How we've been fashioned and created and programmed. Let me just give you a few. For example, men and women are equal in value, but they are different in terms of their needs and the values and roles. One example is generally men value competition, achievement, and therefore they are more propense toward power and status. If you cut across, whether it is Africa, whether it is Europe, whether it is Asia, majority of men are more propense toward competition, achievement, and their work, and power and status. But when you look at generally women, they value love, communication, emotions, and they're more propense towards their relationships. Whether it is Mama Mboga or that CEO, women inherently, they are more propense towards love, emotions, communication, and relationship. That is how they are. And then the other thing about men prefer to offer solutions whenever there's an issue. But women prefer to talk about, to explore relationship issues and their emotional issues. And the emotional aspect of an issue as opposed to the practical or solution aspect of the issue. Then the other thing is that, related to number one, men attach more importance to their status and their jobs, and that's why when men meet, they talk about concrete things like cars, issues like car, politics, and issues like, let's say, their jobs. But women would be more propense to talk about issues to do with their again, their relationships and maybe their interactions with their workmates, with their neighbors, with their parents, things of that sort. Because that is how, not that they're weak, but that's how they're propensed. And then the other thing about men is that men and women also react differently to stress. When a man is stressed, they tend to go quiet and want to find solutions for themselves. But when a woman is stressed, they want to talk about it. So here is the dilemma, especially in marriage. I come from work or wherever I am, and I'm seated there quiet, and I'm trying to engage in what we call nothing box. And my wife looks at me, my body language, and realizes this dude has a problem. So what does she say? What are you thinking about? And then I tell her, nothing. And then she's frustrated. How can you think about nothing? Huh? How can you think about nothing? And you've sat there for 1 hour thinking about nothing when you have an empty brain. No, it's not that I'm thinking about nothing. It's just that I want you to leave me alone. I'm thinking through this issue. I want to sort it out. But for the woman, she has issues with her colleagues at work, or maybe a neighbor or a family. She wants to talk about it. So we handle stress differently as men and women. And then men are inspired by feeling needed. And then women are inspired by feeling cared for and appreciated. So that's why a security guard, someone who is working as a security guard, their level as far as career is concerned, maybe down there, and you can order them around, you can back at them. But one thing that makes them tick is if they realize that his wife and children honor him and appreciate him and show that they need him. And women are generally insecure in this sense, that they always have that subconscious insecurity that maybe my boyfriend, maybe my husband, maybe my fiancé doesn't really love me. And therefore, for you as a man, a boyfriend, fiancé, or a husband, you need to keep reassuring her that you love her. You need to continue showing her affection, because that is what makes them tick. Men don't like being shouted at or backed at or nagged, because it communicates that you don't honor them or respect them. And women also, the other thing about them is that they feel neglected if you don't show them attention or you are not present in their lives. That's why for us men, I may be busy. I've come here to facilitate after this, maybe another facilitation. And then in the evening, I'm going for a dinner, maybe to do another facilitation. And my wife is looking at it and saying, hey, this guy left in the morning at 6, and at 7. For me, I'm doing what is making me tick. But for her, she's feeling neglected. So what I need to do is realize that instead of having to do this and then afternoon and then dinner, I schedule that maybe whatever I should do dinner, I do next weekend, so that I just go home and even sit there, even if I'm not saying anything, because I'm communicating attention. So you see where now submission and love is coming from? Submission feeds into what the man needs. The man needs respect and honor. And then love feeds into what the woman needs. She needs affection and appreciation. So it's not so much about weakness or superiority. It's about the need, the partnership that you're bringing on board. Terms and conditions apply. There are moments also where we can have what we call mutual submission, where both of the husband and wife can choose to submit. For example, I may be what I call a perpetual harvester. Like when I get money, I'm just thinking about spending it. But my wife is a continuous sower. She's someone who, when she gets money, she thinks about planning and investing and budgeting for the money. So if I realize that my wife is a good planner, and I'm kind of a spendthrift. I'm the man, and technically the head, but she's good at that. So what I choose is, I choose to be able to submit in that space, because for the good of the family. So it's not so much, these roles are not cast in stone. Just like a woman, a man can choose to submit on many occasions because of the good of the family or marriage. Also, the woman it doesn't mean that a woman cannot love the man. She also has the capacity to love. But submission and love is more about the predominant needs of these two individuals. And when you do that, it becomes more of a nut and a bolt issue, as opposed to friction and competition in that space. Any question before I take it to a notch higher? Any question?
You have the capacity to submit.
Yes, I do have the capacity to submit, like I've just told you, in the sense let me even use a scientific term. Like, for example, I am a man because I have more testosterone than estrogen. But, and also she is a woman because she has more estrogen than testosterone. So I am more of a leader and a lover, but also there are moments I can submit. And she's more of a follower, and let me say a follower and a supporter, but she can also lead in certain capacity. So it's just a matter of you knowing, okay, being spontaneous, I say, in this space where we are in, I'm the man. But what is the right, what is the best, what will serve the best interest of our marriage and family? My wife has gotten a job in Joburg, and it pays better, and it may mean that it may secure us financially as a family. I may look at it and say, okay, now she will be the one earning more and bringing in more bacon and all those things. But where we are at as far as our relationship is concerned, how will that one serve our family? Will it bring issues? If it won't bring issues, then it's okay for me to be able to follow her where she's going and maybe find something else to do in the process. You get what I'm saying? But if it is, there are many underlying issues, it may be a problem, because we may reach there and it brings problems. So it's both. Your position is you are a lover, she's the follower, but there are many moments when these roles will interchange. The only thing that you need to be careful about is to always know that this is the greatest need of the man in my life, and this is the greatest need of the woman in my life. If you have a car, you need to service it and fuel it. Is it not so? But I don't think it would be okay, or rather normal, for you to go to a filling station and then with a jerry can of petrol and then put some petrol and start drinking. People think you are insane. Even the smell of petrol itself is not something that one of us like. But your car needs petrol. And because you love your car, you will have also to love petrol. Like one of the things that I don't understand is, what is this thing about flowers that people are so captivated about? Flowers. But because my wife loves flowers, I have to also to love. You get what I'm saying? So I love flowers because of my wife. It doesn't make sense to me, but because she loves flowers, I do that. My husband loves this, or responds better like this. And because I love him, I will do that for the sake of our union. Okay? Can you submit and love while you're dating and you're in a relationship? Can you submit and love when you're in a relationship? I've had a very big no. Hey, that is a very big no. Why not? See, after all, you're gonna be my wife. So it will begin. We begin now. Come, we wash my house, clean my utensils and my duvet. Hey, cook for me chapatis. cook for me chapatis for the next, and they will last me for the next 2 weeks. Hey, you are practicing. You are my boyfriend and my fiancé. Pay for me rent for the next 6 months to show that you're a man. Submission and love. Ah, sasa sikia za wasichana.
We are not in attachment.
Okay. If you ask me that question, I'll give you 2 answers. Yes and no. Ask me to explain. Huh? No, I'm saying for both. No, I'm saying submission and love. It's both submission and love. Both submission and love. Can I begin with the yes? Huh? No, let me begin with no, because that is the most favorite for the girls. Love and submission, and more so submission is a big elephant in the room, cannot really be practiced fully in the context of a relationship. You know why? Because you are not officially married. And you are not really partaking of all the responsibilities and privileges that come with marriage. And therefore, it would be unfair, if not unrealistic, for you to expect your girlfriend, fiancé, to submit to you the way you would expect a wife to do that. You get? The same way also, there's a certain measure of love a man will give you as a woman when you are dating and courting that will not be at the same level in marriage, because there's something about that commitment of a marriage that brings about certain privileges and rights and obligations fully. You get? So I'll say no. However, there's also a yes there in this sense, that the foundation, you've heard me say this many times, foundation is not the building, but it's part of the building. And part of why we date and court is because we are learning to be able to formulate, practice, and develop certain values and ideas and principles that will help us to be able to formulate a healthy relationship, because it takes a healthy relationship to make a healthy marriage. And part of what we do is to be able also to start looking at these issues, talking about them, and even practicing with them. But here is the thing. Love and submission in the context of a relationship is more from a qualitative point of view than a quantitative point of view. It is also more from you deal with it in terms of like what I would say incremental capacity building. Like what you do when you go to a gym, you are given light weight first, and then when the instructor, gym instructor, looks at you and says, "Okay, you're doing well. You can go to the next level." Also, love and submission. Also, you do that in. Let me give you an example. A 3-month dating context is very different from a 3 or 2 year relationship. You cannot say, I've met a guy or I've met a chick who I really like, and we've been dating for the past 3 months, and she's relocating to Mombasa, and I'm now resigning my job to follow her. If you told someone, if you told your friends or whoever it is, even your grandmother, they will tell you, you've gone nuts. But if you've been in a relationship for maybe, let's say, 3 years, and you are seriously thinking about marriage, and you are thinking in terms of settling down, it may be feasible for you to start thinking, can we consider not to go the direction of a long-distance relationship and marriage? You can begin talking about it. And you see, that is part and parcel of love and submission in that space. You are thinking through that because of the nature and the longevity of your relationship. I don't know whether I'm making sense. So also, you can practice that, but in a more wise, discerning manner, and also in a way that you of trying to process and contemplate. I have a case in point. I have a girl I consider to be my mentee. We began a journey about 5 years ago in campus, and she's graduated. Now she's married. The husband is a health worker in a government in a hospital somewhere in a town in this nation. They got married, and she was working in Nairobi, and the husband was in that space. And he would come home every weekend, but by the time he arrives, he's tired. By the time he comes, he arrives, he's tired, he eats, he sleeps. The next day, he wakes up, has breakfast, they go to church, and then he's on a bus or going back. So they looked at him and realized, hey, this one, I don't think we'll be able to hack it, because at this rate, we'll just be tired through all the weekends, and then our marriage will not really be working. So she decided to resign. So she went and shared that one with her friends, like I have a friends. You know those questions we ask for friends? I have a friend whose husband is away from town, and she's thinking of resigning. The other ladies threw up their hands and say, Chineke abomi nation, you cannot do that. How can you do that for a man? But she was convicted in her heart that at the moment my job is important, my marriage is more important. Long story short, she decided to resign. So she came to me, and we were sitting down in the office, and we have a conversation. And she loved her job. She's passionate because it was something that is in line with her passion and what she studied in campus, and of course the money also. So she was wondering. Now I go sit there, and in the morning I'm preparing breakfast. I prepare breakfast for my husband. He goes to work, and I'm just seated there. Yet, one thing I loved about the whole thing is it is a discussion that began way before marriage. Is that discussion they began way before marriage. In fact, for her, she was willing to resign immediately after, or even just before the wedding. But the husband said, no, just chill. I loved you. One of the things that made me love you is I saw how you work, and I saw how you carried yourself in your profession, and I love that, and I don't want to take it away from you. But now, what ground division is it? The different. Like now we're in marriage, it's not working. So she decided to resign. So I told her, you go to your boss and just tell your boss exactly what, because she wanted to go there and maybe just lie and say, okay, I feel like I need a break. I told her, no, you just go tell her. Tell your boss that you are resigning because of your family. She went and told the boss, and the boss said, okay, we love you and we appreciate your service. Why don't you do this? Why don't you go ahead, relocate, and then you'll be working from home. You can do a hybrid. You come to Nairobi once or twice, but you work from home. But the reason why I'm telling you this story is because her relocation or joining her husband is not a decision she made when she got married. It is a decision that it's something that they already discussed way before. So there's a sense in which submission and love cannot be fully practiced in the context of a relationship, but also you can begin that conversation so that eventually it becomes more meaningful and more feasible, and there's less friction in that space. I don't know whether we are getting each other now in that space. Yeah. So it can happen. I can see Muka is looking at me with those bad eyes. He's looking at me. He's pretending he's not looking at me. I still have much to cover, but maybe just to be able to finalize. When we talk about love and submission, as I said, always have in mind, it is not about me against her, or me against him. It's about us working together to partner. I am a bolt, he is a nut, or he is a nut, I'm a bolt. Always think in terms of that. When you think in terms of that, the concept of love and submission becomes more complementary, and it brings more harmony, and it makes the relationship and marriage healthy, and it works even in our context. In this session, I'd like to finish with a story. I'll not mention her name, but she's someone well known in this country, but I'll not mention her name because of privacy. This lady, she's a CEO of a company, and she was having a talk with the ladies, women, mothers, and all those things. And one of the things she was challenging them is, hey, ladies, I'm a CEO, and I have a husband and wife, and it means also you guys can do it. So stop using the term that I'm a woman, I cannot make it. I've made it, I'm a CEO, and CEO of a company that is doing very well, a company that is well respected in this country. And then as she was finishing her conversation, she said, however, I'd like to make a qualification that, when I'm at work in my office, I am the CEO. And therefore, people do things for me. Men and women do things for me. They bring me tea, they bring me lunch, they clean my office, they clean after me, they do whatever I want them to do because I am the CEO. But here is the catch. I have chosen not to be the CEO in my house. When I arrive home, I remove my high heels and I go to the kitchen and serve my husband tea. Not because I don't have housemaids and other people, but I have chosen to do that. And it has helped me to be able to maintain a very healthy marriage because I realized if I bring the rules of work home, at some point I brought the rules back home, I realized there was a lot of friction. But when I come home, of course I'm still a CEO, but when I come home, I just become a mother and a wife. Of course, I have people who do much of the housework and other things, but I just take that role of being a wife. And my husband also is equally competent in his field. And when he comes, also, he doesn't come with title. He just comes and he becomes a man and a husband and a father. What is my point? There are rules of engagement in the career space and out there in the marketplace that may not necessarily apply in the relationship and in a family space. So always be cognizant of that. And one of those ones is love and submission. And it works if you are able to look at it from a positive point of view and that is from a positive point of view. I just maybe like to take one question as I finish. Maybe if you have someone has a question. Jongo muuliza wacha mtu mwingine aliulize kabla wewe. Anyone else?
Ask the last question. Maybe two. You think that a woman can love. Can she? Can they?
Like in this sense,
In manner of submission. In manner of submission.
Yes, one way of them expressing their love to a man is through submission. That is one way. But also the other way they can do also because they are affectionate. Because love has an element of affection, care, consideration, and all those things. So the predominant aspect of her expressing her love, the predominant aspect of her expressing her love is through submission, but she also has the capacity to be able to love on her husband, just as she can love on her children. Because love is something that all of us can have the capacity to be able to practice. So she can do. And then a man can also have the capacity to be able to say, okay, in this one, I choose to step back and let the whatever is for the good of the marriage and family prevail in that space.
My question was in that. When you say a man can submit, quote unquote, is that when you get a strong woman, quote unquote, like she's out there and she's successful and all those things, and you get to submit a lot. Hautakuwa umekaliwa chapati.
Of course, there are cases like those ones. In fact, I have one extreme case of that, where the man is literally, he doesn't ask his wife why should I jump, but how high can I jump? If she says we are moving to another city, he does that. So that is one extreme. Is very the wife has taken more of the masculine role in the family, and it's chosen to just do that. So there are those extremes. But like I told you about that CEO, she's successful at other things, but she just realized, okay, what works out there, it works. But in the home here, we bring in the values and qualities that make a family and relationship work. Yeah. So it may not necessarily now, like I said, you have testosterone, no, and also a bit of oxygen. So it's just a matter of the spontaneity that comes with it. In this space, I choose to be able to step back. Not because now I've ceased to be a man, but for the good of the family. Okay. Jomo?
I wanted to ask, do you think in this day and age we're living,
Yeah.
girls around can clearly differentiate between, from the story you've given us, can clearly differentiate between work roles and being like a proper household?
I would say this. It is very possible. You know why? Because I am a father and a husband, but right now I'm a facilitator. You get? And right now I may be facilitating on the aspect of relationship, and therefore I can bring in examples about family, but I may be facilitating about something else, maybe money. But it doesn't mean that now I have ceased to be the other things. So there's something about us human beings that I love, that we are very adaptable. And there's a sense in which we can adapt to different situations and play those roles that still work. Like I am a man, I am a manager, I am a CEO, but in my house I am a father, I am a husband, I'm a human being. So we just need to be able to also realize that our identity has many facets to it, and we just need to be able to know what to apply when. Like the way you have a house, a 3-bedroom house that has a kitchen and has a bathroom and a washroom, you have got to be able to do certain things in certain spaces for you to be able to function well. Otherwise, if you do certain things in the other places, it will be a mess. So I think, to me, I'm saying we are modernized, but sometimes we want to do certain things that are supposed to be done in the kitchen, we do them in the living room. And certain things that we're supposed to do in the bathroom, we do them in the kitchen. And that's why we are having all these messes. And again, always understand it from a point of don't demand it. Understand it, explore it, discuss it, and then respond to it and act on it from a more informed point of view.
So, from a point of when you start a relationship, or when a relationship is, let me take it as a marriage, is there usually a default setting, like submission level starts here? Then slowly by slowly, for example, as you mentioned, there are those people who the wife is more, I don't want to use masculine in her, I don't want to say
maybe personality.
Yes, in her personality. So she's more demanding, she's more authoritative. Can it be restored? Can someone restore or come back from such a point, or restore the levels, make it a balance, have a balance, or is it like just trust that it's very hard or can never be restored?
I think that question has several answers to it. One, you may come into a space where the woman or the lady is very forthright and aggressive in that space. And there are men who are comfortable with that. There are women who are very aggressive and forthright in their doing things and approach to things, but very respectful. You get? The way someone can really rebuke you and correct you in a very respectful way, and still tell you the truth. You get what I'm saying? So there's that space. And if I'm a man and I find myself in a space where a woman is aggressive and maybe because of their personality, because of their career and other things, but there's a respect and courtesy and consideration in that space, I have no problem with that. You get? So there's that. And then also the other aspect to it also, we are a product of history. We are a product of where we have come from in terms of our socialization. You come from a space where maybe dad did this, the role of your dad was this, the role of your mom is this. So that one formulates in your mind. So we come into that space knowing, okay, as far as I'm concerned, I know the role of a man is this because I've seen my dad and my uncles and maybe my elder cousins and brothers do that. So you bring that one to them. And some of it can be baggage, some of it can be good things. So, and that's why dating and courtship and the relationship is important, because you interrogate that. I had a conversation while in Mombasa for the Jesus gathering. I had a conversation with this gentleman, very interesting conversation. We were just talking about the issue of submission and love. And he says he's now married, I think, for several years. And he was saying, when I was courting my wife, she would come to my place and I would cook for her, clean after her. And I was okay with that. But where my socialization and my perception and perspective is, this is the role of a woman. I'm an educated guy, but this is the role of a woman. And now what he did is that he communicated that to the wife. He said, my fiancé, I love you, but when you come here, I cook for you and I clean after you, but I will not do this when you get married. I will not go to the kitchen to cook for you or to cook or clean. That is your role. And if you have a problem with that, then we should just stop this thing. So she had him loud and clear, and they got married. So once in a while, when he goes to the kitchen and cooks and cleans, she's pleasantly surprised. So he communicated that. I'm not trying to say that one copy and paste, but I'm just giving you that one as an example. Because there was clear communication and understanding about that, the roles are clear. And both of them are highly educated, they have their own careers, but he communicated that. What if he kept quiet and then demanded that on a marriage? It would have been a problem. But he communicated that and said, for me, that is a deal breaker. I'm not for the idea of 50-50. Or that but if you have a problem with that, that one is a deal breaker, we just cut this thing. The woman looked at her and said, okay, he has ticked all the other boxes, only cooking and cleaning, I have no problem. You see what I'm saying? So it's also discussion is important. Maybe last question, and then maybe we can take it later because of the other parts later.
Mine is almost the same question. It's in relation to two studies. The first one is we are having the sexual perversion where
Could you remove the mask just a bit, so that...
we're having the sexual perversion where males are trying to become females and females are becoming males. That is gay males. And also in the role where when women, I think why women have a struggle with submission is their masculinity side is pushed more upfront, forward by the males. So do you think we are losing the love and submission aspect, and can it be done?
I think it can, in the sense that for every dysfunctionality, there's always a functionality. And I would say this, it is informed, and also it is informed, the issue of submission and the negative aspect that come with it is because also society had abused the aspect of submission, where we used to enslave and push down our girls and the women and our wives. So the idea of women coming forth and having equal opportunities and going out there in the marketplace and career, and even in the home trying to say, okay, standing for what is right, even in the marriage, there's no problem. The idea is just to be able to make sure that it is not from a competitive point of view. That's what I would say. not from a competitive, from a complementary point of view. I'm still around. I think we'll take more questions later, but because of the facilitator, I'll stop there.